show of the week, everybody. Welcome to the GOAT Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Neander. Back with you for another episode here. Last one of the week, as I said, so that means it's Friday afternoon. We've got the second half of our Week 4 preview show. And, hey, so listen, if you've been paying attention all week, you watched part 1, you know what's going on, but just a little primer, right? We have our early bye week. We didn't expect, but we have an unexpected early bye week. The Tennessee Titans and the Pittsburgh Steelers will not be playing in Week 4. So they are off of the docket of games for the weekend. And just make sure you deal with your lineups appropriately, okay? Get some guys out of there and make sure you put them on your bench. And you got to have some warm bodies up there. I know between the injuries and now with these unexpected guys, it can be a little bit tough, but it is what it is. And that's all it is a bye week. And just like every other bye week, you have to navigate it. Got to do what you got to do. Make the moves you need to make. That's all you can do. I know people are, some people struggling with it. I keep hearing about, fantasy commissions and fantasy owners tilting like crazy over this. And there's no reason to. It's a bye week. Thankfully, there's no other teams on a bye this week. And it's just causing as little effect as possible at the moment. Until something else happens, until it's a bigger deal, I'm not going to make a bigger deal out of it. So, all right. Last show, of course, we went over the first half of the games for this weekend. And so if you're keeping up and paying attention, that means we're going to go over the other half of the games today. Not too difficult of a concept to get into. So, where does that take us to start today? That's going to take us to Carolina, where the Arizona Cardinals are going to visit the Panthers and hope to come back after a disappointing loss to the Lions in Week 3. Definitely not a great game for them. And the Panthers, 1-2. Hey, they're a new team, new coach, very young and inexperienced defense, and they're trying to find their way. They're playing all right. It's two different teams, going two different directions here. The Cardinals are kind of on their way, right? Moving up and ascending. The Panthers are hoping to be the Cardinals next year. So, talk about Arizona. I think this is a good matchup, in a lot of different ways now. On the injury front here for Arizona, it is a little bit concerning. DeAndre Hopkins showed up on the injury report in the middle of the week here. He's got an ankle injury. He was held out of practice on Thursday, and it's still pretty early on Friday, so I haven't had any update yet on DeAndre Hopkins and his practicing. Christian Kirk also limited on Thursday with a groin injury. So, there's some question marks out here in Arizona. Now, the fact is, either way, I'm going to be playing Kyler Murray with the rushing, baseline, and just the matchup with the Panthers. I think you're going to have Kyler Murray out there whether or not DeAndre Hopkins plays. Kenyon Drake is going to need to be in your lineup. He's been very disappointing so far for Kenyon Drake owners. They picked him either in the late first round, somewhere between the late first round and maybe mid-second round. And either way, he hasn't come close to returning, on that value. But he has been getting the touches. And that's, if you're looking for that silver lining, hey, that's it. He's touching the ball a good amount in an offense that's pretty good. And hopefully it'll break a little bit for him here. And this week, hopefully, will be the week. If DeAndre Hopkins plays, you're going to have him in there. He's been a target machine in this offense. And so you're going to have him playing. The bigger question is there anybody else you're playing whether or not DeAndre Hopkins plays? So now, if Hopkins is in and seems healthy, I'm probably not playing anybody else on this team. There's no tight ends we're playing. Dan Arnold, we know now, is really not a thing, at least to start the season. And as far as the wide receivers go, we already know Christian Kirk, who was expected to be the number 2, is nursing an injury. Larry Fitzgerald, all-time great, but really not getting the targets and maybe not just getting, open and not maybe getting the separation, but he's definitely not getting the targets, really. And then you have some of the young guys stepping up. So we had Andy Isabella score a couple of touchdowns on his 4 receptions last week. And then we had Keyshawn Hamilton getting a lot of targets. He didn't have a great game, but he had 7 targets. So they're trying to decipher what can happen if DeAndre Hopkins is out. I would put my money on Andy Isabella and the playmaking ability as opposed to, the 7 targets that Johnson had, I don't know if that's really how it's going to shake out, whether or not Hopkins is in. I think Isabella would be the guy to play in a Hopkins absence. And some people are thinking Isabella could be playable, regardless. I'm not ready to say that. It was only 4 targets, great game, and flash some great playmaking ability. But at this time, you need to see more than 4 targets to assume that you're going to be in there with Hopkins getting 10, 12, targets a game. So, yeah. On the other side of the ball with the Panthers, this one, Teddy Bridgewater could be in a position to have a decent streaming game. He winds up, around I think quarterback 17 for me. So, it's just I don't know if the upside is there with this offense if he has the ability to have a big game. But I think it'll be okay for him. I'm not planning on playing him, obviously. I think you'd have to be in a really bad position to need to play Teddy Bridgewater. Mike Davis, yeah, you need to be in your lineup. We saw the receiving work was there last week in McCaffrey's absence. And as long as that receiving work is going to be there, he's going to be in your lineup because that baseline is too high and that floor is too high to keep him out. So if he's looking at 6, 8, targets plus every game that he's in there, he's going to be fine for your lineup. Then on the outside, it is getting difficult with Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. I think this week you can play both of them. The problem is, moving forward, who to play. And I don't know. It's been tough because Robbie Anderson has absolutely been more than just, that big play, got to touch the ball a couple times in a game, kind of player. He's been getting a lot of targets and been very involved in this offense. So hard to keep Robbie Anderson out. I think this week you play both DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson with confidence. And, going forward, we'll deal with that after going forward. So, yeah. All right, that's going to take us out of that game here and move us into Houston. Let's see, the Minnesota Vikings are going to visit the Houston Texans here, and both teams, really, really need to turn things around. These are 2 0-3 teams, 2 teams that were playoff teams last year that absolutely have playoff aspirations this year. And as of this moment, it doesn't look like it. They both got, interesting things going on here. Now, the fact they both need a win with the over-under at 54 makes me very willing to play, a good amount of people in these games. Yeah, I think Kirk Cousins is one of those guys that you can absolutely stream. If you're, in a position where your quarterback just has a very bad matchup, which there's not that many this week, or you're just thin and you're looking for an upside play that maybe other people aren't going for. Kirk Cousins could be it. They need a win bad, and their offensive weapons. There are other guys that are not Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen. Namely Justin Jefferson. Are starting to come around. That's only going to help everybody. So I'm okay playing Kirk Cousins this week. We know Dalvin Cook's in your lineup. That's not a question mark. Alexander Madison should still be rostered in leagues, but should not be started in any league. And then on the outside, listen, Adam Thielen had a bad week, but end of the day, he's going to be in your lineup. High value targets are there on pretty much a weekly basis, and he's very consistent. He still looks good. It was just a bad week. We'll see if he turns it around. The bigger question is Justin Jefferson had the monster game last week, 5 for $175 and a touchdown. He got snapped up on everyone's waiver wires. At this point, he's not out there anymore. He shouldn't be. Someone got him in pretty much every league, and that's fine. Are you playing him this week is the bigger question. And I think you are as a wide receiver 3. I said it before the year. I talked about it a little bit on the review show from week 3, and I didn't see any reason why he couldn't move into the majority of those Stephon Diggs targets. I mean, Diggs last year had much fewer targets than he had in years past. I think last year he was under 100 targets, where he had been in the 130, 140 range in the years before that. And so to expect Justin Jefferson to be an 80 to 90 target guy, I did not think was at all, not even out of the realm of possibility. I didn't think it was. I wouldn't want to bet against that. I mean, his only competition is really B.C. Johnson, who hasn't really done enough to show that he needs to be on the field in the years he's been in the league. So, I think Jefferson is the real deal. I'm not expecting, monster numbers from him, but I think you can start him confidently as a wide receiver 3. And the tight ends, unfortunately, here are just unusable. Love Kyle Rudolph, but, at this point, he needs to, let Irv Smith, get out there and play. I'd love to see the Vikings giving Irv Smith more work, but they're not. So we're not going to play them and we're going to move on. To the Texans, where, yeah, you're going to play Deshaun Watson. Again, he's been disappointing also, like really disappointing. Yeah, not really disappointing, but he's not been very good for you. And hopefully he can turn around a little bit here. Other quarterbacks have had a lot of success against the Vikings. And I expect him to also in this game. David Johnson, it all depends on your situation. He's outside of my top 24 for running backs this week, and that could be a mistake. But, I just when I watch him, it's painful. He looks slow. So, I don't know. Then for the wide receivers, yeah, I'm going to start Will Fuller. I hope he's healthy. He's on the injury report this week, and that's the problem with Will Fuller. But, I think you play him. I think you play Brandon Cooks, if he's healthy. Again, they need to win. Both these teams need to go for broke, and they need to start playing better, like right now. 0-4 is going to pretty much end your season. So, I think both these teams should come out firing and really be going for it. So, yeah. All right, where are we going to go next? We're going to go to Los Angeles, where the Rams are going to host the New York Giants. And, this should be a fun game here. I know the Giants are pretty bad. But I do think they're gonna put up a fight. I think Danny Dimes is going to find a way to put up a little bit of offense in this one here. But I'm not going to start him, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm still not starting Danny Dimes this week. I'm going to hold off on that. But... I think they're going to be better. Not going to start any Giants running backs this week. But on the outside, I think you still got to look at starting some of these receivers and maybe Evan Ingram, even though they've been, a nightmare so far. So if they get all their, receivers back at this point, I think Shepard still might be out. Who would I be willing to play? I'd still be willing to play Darius Slayton this week. I know it's a tough one. I know he was bad. I'm not saying absolutely play him. He's not like my star of the week or anything like that, but I'm still willing to play Darius Slayton. I'm still willing to play Evan Ingram. If I have a better option, I'm playing a better option than Evan Ingram, sure. He's not inside my top 12, so he's not a tight end 1, but there's not that many guys that can be out there at this point that you can start over him, I don't think. And again, another team that needs to get something going, try to get the ball into your best playmaker's hands. So, I don't know. I think they're going to continue to try to get Evan Ingram worked in, and this might be the week where it cracks a little bit. On the other side for the Rams, yeah, you're playing all your dudes. You're playing, I think, Jared Goff. I think this week needs to be played. He's probably the very top quarterback that's available in the majority of leagues. That should be played this week. Darrell Henderson, whether or not Cam Akers plays, I think right now he has elevated himself to the, to the top guy on this team, and I think he's got the job right now. So I think going ahead, you're playing Darrell Henderson this week. Don't want to play Malcolm Brown, and whether or not Akers is in, I wouldn't want to play him either. And then, both your receivers, Kupp and Woods, and tight end Tyler Higbee, throw them all out there. Higbee didn't have a great week last week, but that's against a really tough Buffalo Bills linebacker core that's great at defending the tight end position. So, yeah, go ahead and play all those guys on the Rams this week. Keep it easy. All right, Patriots and Chiefs. This one's tougher, especially on the Patriots side. Cam, first, pretty, bad game for fantasy of the year. Don't know how that's going to lead us. The Chiefs, and the conversation's always about, is their defense very good? Are they going to be in shootouts? The defense wasn't good to start the year last year. Then it was great. And it's been really good to start the year so far this year. And they just really kept Lamar Jackson in check. And so that worries me a little bit for Cam Newton. So in all honesty, Cam's outside of my top 12. And I'd probably rather play Jared Goff than Cam Newton this week. And that's tough. But if you have Cam, you're probably going to keep going with him because of the rushing upside and that baseline. But, I got a bad feeling about Cam this week. Don't want to play any running backs here. Burkhead had the big week, but James White will most likely be back. And Sony Michel is on the injury report. And it's just, I'm still just too worried about it. I'm staying away from it. And on the outside, we saw a bad week, obviously. But I think that, Julian Edelman is still someone that should be in your lineup. Just assuming the workload and the targets are there. Maybe they won't be. It could hurt you. But I got Julian Edelman as a low-end wide receiver 2 this week. We'll see how that works out. So, on the Chiefs, you're playing all the big guys, all your hosses, right? You're playing Mahomes. You're playing Clyde Edwards-Helaire. playing Tyreek Hill, you're playing Travis Kelce. Question is, are you throwing anybody else out there? That's Sammy Watkins, that's Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, any of these guys? I don't think so. Someone's going to score. Question is, how are you gonna bet that? Who are you gonna bet that they're going to score this week? I'm not willing to. I don't know how much they're going to score this week. I know they're the Chiefs and they probably still score 30 plus points against the Patriots, but I'm just not going to put it out there that somebody else is going to have a big week outside of those big, three skill guys. So I guess if you made me pick again, it would be Sammy Watkins, but I'm not going to go there. I'm not playing him, so I'm not going to tell you to play him. All right. Let's knock these out here. Listen, just to take a little break here, a little intermission, just to let you know, the first few episodes from next week will more than likely be live from location, taking myself and the wife taking a little trip for our anniversary, and we're going to be at the lake house. So, leaving here very shortly, getting this Friday episode knocked out, and then hitting the road, and you'll be seeing us from the lake on Monday after a nice football. I don't know if I'm going to be watching the games when or where I'll be watching the games, but we'll see. We'll see if I'm allowed to. So, that's why we're in a rush. This is going to be a quick episode. We're going to burn through these last three games, and we're going to jump out of here. So, we got the Las Vegas Raiders hosted by Buffalo Bills. 3-0 Bills looking to continue their run of dominance this season. So, are they for real? I'm starting to think they are. And I was a big critic of Buffalo going into the season. Again, they're my team. Maybe I didn't want to get my hopes up, too high, but I wasn't sure they were going to really be able to take that step forward. I didn't know if the Stephon Diggs deal was going to make a big difference. And all of that, was wrong. It all came to fruition. Josh Allen is taking a step forward. Stephon Diggs is a huge part of this offense, and is really just helping everybody. And I love the way they look. I love it. So, looks great here. So, I want to play my Bills. Now, you're playing Josh Allen. Devin Singletary is a little bit more interesting because he had a very good week last week, but we do expect Zach Moss to probably come back. Second straight limited practice on Thursday. And I think they're still going to be a little bit hesitant with Moss to start. So I do think you get one more good week out of Devin Singletary, and then we'll see. If he plays really well, again, then maybe he has the job kind of locked up, and you're going to be able to play him every week. If he doesn't play well this week, or Zach Moss is more involved than I expect, then we got to reevaluate next week. But I think you play Singletary again this week. Now, Stephon Diggs, you absolutely got to have him in your lineup. He's been too involved not to. John Brown, I wanted to say play him, but now he's on the injury report. He's got a calf injury he's dealing with. And it's not that, if John Brown, doesn't do a full practice on Friday, then I'm not playing him. I just think they have enough weapons, and I just don't want to play a guy that's already a fringe guy for me and then could be knocked out of the game, early with a re-aggravation of an injury. I really don't want to play that game. Now, Cole Beasley, on the other hand, I think is playable whether or not John Brown is going to play. He's been getting his targets quietly. The ceiling is lower, right? You don't have that high ceiling, but the floor is pretty solid and the consistency is there. And he could be a good play in a week like this. There's definitely a league that I'm in that I absolutely am, thinking about. I've got him, I've got Greg Ward, I've got Odell Beckham Jr. Got to play 2 out of those 3. And, if you really start digging into it, it's closer than you think. It's a closer decision than you think. So I'm worried about it, but you can play Cole Beasley, absolutely. You don't have to. He's not a smash play, but he should be, right on the fringe of that flexible, area. If John Brown is out, if John Brown is ruled out, then I do think you want to play Cole Beasley. I think he's going to be a sneaky 12-target kind of guy for this week if John Brown is absolutely out. So, I think you want to play those guys. And on the Raiders side, we're still looking at Josh Jacobs' injury a little bit here. What are they saying? Looks like he's off the injury report now, so that's fantastic. So Josh Jacobs is off the injury report. That makes you feel that much better. You're not playing Derek Carr in this matchup. I don't think it's a good one to play him in, and especially without a lot of his weapons here. So Josh Jacobs, you're playing now. Wide receivers are going down like left and right for this team. Both the rookies, Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards, are doubtful. I don't think either one is going to play. And in that case, even though obviously I don't like Derek Carr for this game, I definitely do like Hunter Renfrow. It's just because he's got to get the work, right? I mean, Darren Waller is not a really recommended start for me this week because of the matchup. The Bills, we saw with Higbee last week. They've got their linebacking core back and strong again with Milano and Edmonds, and they're really good at defending the tight end position. That being said, you're playing Darren Waller because if they're down so many, weapons, that even if he has a poor game efficiency-wise, it could be a 12-target game for both Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. That Derek Carr has that tendency to really focus in when he has a lack of other options, and there might be, between those two guys, Renfrow and Waller, that might be a 60%, 75% target share, somewhere crazy like that between those two guys. So just keep an eye out for that. And if those receivers are out, I like playing Renfrow a lot, and I like Waller this week as well, just because of volume. Hate the matchup, love the volume because of the lack of weapons. So, yep. All right, let's knock it out here. We've got 2 games left, man. Whew, this one. I don't know if this one's going to be ugly or not. I mean, we're going to watch it because it's prime time, right? So we're going to get to see the game. But we got the Philadelphia Eagles visiting the San Francisco 49ers, and got two of the most, if not the most, injury-ridden teams in the league right now. Really, really ugly. We know we're not playing Carson Wentz. You just can't right now. He doesn't have the weapons. He doesn't have the confidence. You just can't do it. And, even though the 49ers are banged up on both sides of the ball, they still play good defense. They still have a great coach and a great defensive scheme, and I still think that they're going to be, just fine. So I don't want to play Carson Wentz. Miles Sanders, you're definitely playing. The offense should absolutely go through Miles Sanders. I know he's questionable, but he was practicing in a limited fashion on Thursday with a glute injury. Those glutes. And I think he's going to play. So if that changes, then of course this all changes. But Miles Sanders right now for me is a very big play on the week. I think he'll have many, many targets. I think he had 8 last week, and I would see him getting at least that many this week. So, yeah, play Miles Sanders. Now, can you play anybody on the outside? Yeah, you play Greg Ward. I mean, I don't think Deshaun Jackson's going to play. I don't think Alshon Jeffrey is ready. And J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, not to be an ass, I don't think it matters if he really plays. So, who else do you have? Dallas Goedert's out also. So really, you got Greg Ward and you got Zach Ertz. And you're going to have some other guys out there running around trying to catch passes. But, man, I'm looking for these guys to have targets. It's going to be, again, ugly, but I hate to keep using this number, but like that 12-plus target range is very, very, very in play for Greg Ward this week. And also 10-plus targets for Zach Ertz. And, Zach Ertz can be a smash play this week. They just don't have any other options. So that's who you're playing in Philly. I think you're playing Miles Sanders without a doubt. I think you got to get Greg Ward in your lineup somewhere in a PPR. Let me clarify that. In PPR formats or half PPR because of the volume that he's going to have. I want to play Greg Ward. And you got to play Zach Ertz. Hasn't been looking amazing, but he's going to have the targets with Goddard out. Should have 10-plus targets. Now, on the San Francisco side of things, Nick Mullins is an interesting, streaming option. I'm not, recommending it. He's not in my top 15 or 16, so I'm not going to have him out there. And, we're pretty sure Garoppolo's going to miss another game, so we're going there. Now, in the backfield, it's a big question because Raheem Mostert will most likely be out again. We know Tevin Coleman is out. So you have Jeff Wilson and Jerick McKinnon. And I think at this point, you're just playing both with the upside of the 49ers rushing offense, right? It's difficult not to. Wilson didn't have, a great game efficiency-wise, but gets into the end zone, and McKinnon is getting work also. He's getting passing down work. He's getting running down work. He's not on the injury report right now. So, I'm definitely willing to play both those running backs. A little scary, no doubt, but definitely down getting those guys in there. So, want to see if they say anything about either of them right now. Yeah, I don't see anything about those other running backs, so I'm fine with it. Yeah, not going to be a great Sunday night game, but we'll see what happens. All right, let's finish it up with a high-scoring Monday night game. Love this one. The Atlanta Falcons going to take on the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. And points galore here. I mean, I don't know why you're not playing everybody. I know that there's some injury concerns on the Falcons, so they have, like, every wide receiver on the injury report right now. Pretty brutal. I don't know if anything changed today. No, all three of their top wide receivers are still listed as questionable. And let's see, did any of them practice? Okay, Julio and Russell Gage. Julio Jones and Russell Gage both practiced in a limited fashion. And Calvin Ridley didn't practice at all on Thursday. Now, you know, you got to keep an eye on all this for a couple of reasons, right? This is a Monday night game with other people already out. There's injuries everywhere, and then you have the two bye week teams as well. So, you know, I don't know if you can play Matt Ryan with confidence here. I think they're going to have to lean on the run a little bit, and they're going to be playing from behind in the second half if they don't have their wide receiver. So I don't love Gurley either. So it sucks because typically, every week you want to play all your Falcons, right? Get them all out there. If any of these receivers is considered fully healthy and absolutely going to play, then yeah, I think you want to get them in your lineup. Because I don't think all three are going to play. At this point, I don't know if Ridley's going to play. I don't know. This is one of the, I hate to say, this is a to be determined. Really, it still is a to be determined. It's just too many factors for the Falcons to give you a real, a confident vote for anybody. Julio is a beast. He really plays through injury a lot. And when he can, he does. And I think he will. So I think what's going to wind up happening, if you're asking me to just, read the tea leaves, is that Julio Jones will play, and you'll play Julio Jones, and it'll be fine. Wow, everything else is just so ugly there. I don't know what else to say about the Falcons because got to wait to see more about their injuries because they're playing Monday. I really want to see more today, Friday. At the end of today, we'll probably know a good amount more. So just listen, pay attention. This is an offense that you want a piece of, but, a lot of injuries. Now, Hayden Hurst, before we move on, Hayden Hurst, I've talked about him a bunch because he was one of my top guys compared to where, experts had him. And it's been disappointing so far. He's gotten into the end zone. The targets haven't been there. Even last week when Julio was out and they needed help moving the ball, he wasn't getting targets. So I'm worried. I think we have a better option. Like I'm starting Dalton Schultz over Hayden Hurst this week in one of my leagues. I didn't drop Hurst yet, but I did bench him, and it's a tough matchup. Now, I think for me, maybe the final litmus test, if they're really down two or maybe even all three of these receivers, and Hurst isn't getting a bunch of targets, then I'm out. At that point, I'm out, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I won't be able to be in on it if that's the deal, just because when else are you going to get targets, right? If there's like no other warm bodies out there, what's stopping them from throwing you the ball? All right, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers here. Some unfortunate news today for the Packers also, but Aaron Rodgers, I think, regardless of, I don't want to say regardless of situation. Right now, I'm planning on playing Aaron Rodgers because I'm planning on Devontae Adams being in the lineup and playing as well. So the news was that Alan Lazard is out indefinitely. He had a core muscle surgery this week after his best game of his career. So that really sucks that he's going to be out for a while now. That's going to bump up Marquez Valdez-Scantling in a big way. Should now be owned in all leagues as the, undoubted number 2 in this offense. So make sure you got MVS on your lineup, on your bench, and maybe in your lineup. So Aaron Jones, no doubt, no brainer, you're playing Aaron Jones. And then Devontae Adams, I think he's going to play, and I think you're going to have him in your lineup in a smash matchup against the Falcons. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, this week, I think you want in your lineup as a flex. He has a huge ceiling for multiple touchdowns this week. Absolutely is possible. Falcons are atrocious defending wide receivers and quarterbacks, for that matter, and comebacks and whatever else. And I think they're going to take advantage of it in a big way. So I think that MVS is going to be a must-play for me this week. And that's it. I'm not playing any tight ends. Robert Tonyan or Jay Sternberger, I'm not playing them yet, even though they're down weapons. I just haven't seen Aaron Rodgers involve his tight ends enough consistently. I'm going to do it this week. If Tanyan has another good week this week, maybe we'll talk about it next week, all right? All right, that's going to do it. Listen, y'all, I got to hit the road here. That was a nice, quick episode. Hope you got your info. Know who to start and sit. Make sure you got your Steelers and your Titans on your bench or out of your lineup, however you want to call it. If you got to drop them, drop them. If you got to bench them, whatever you got to do. And make sure you keep an eye on the injury report. Still a lot of injuries. Friday's practice is mucho importante. For all these injuries, you need to know who's going to play and who's not. So keep your ear to the ground. Keep out for those injuries. Keep listening to the GOAT and keep kicking some ass, y'all. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Sunday of football. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. See you then.